Hey there, survivors. Thanks for tuning in to tonight's episode. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. It really helps me keep these stories coming. And while you're here, let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Now let's get started. This is Staff Sergeant Colin Reyes, recording on my helmet mic because every other line is down. Chronometer reads 2:17 hours, but the corridor lights hold on that flat fluorescent white that never changes. I am standing outside Decon Airlock 3 with two other MPs, Specialist Marquez on my right, Corporal Ellis on my left, watching the inner hatch bulge and tremble like something stronger than hydraulics wants out. The alarm klaxons finally cut off after 20 minutes of steady wail. Silence makes the base feel wider, emptier. I tell Ellis to keep his rifle trained on the viewport. The thick glass is spiderwebbed now, vapor curls through the cracks. Something inside the chamber moves, a smear of grey and rust red across the porthole. Marquez mutters that he saw a hand with too many knuckles. I don't answer. I keep one eye on the pressure gauge, still in the red, and the other on the main passage that runs south toward Containment Wing D. I rewind 2 hours in my head. Midnight, routine patrol. I was at the North Hangar Annex when Control paged everyone to shelter in place. Biological Incident Block A12 through D4. Initiate Protocol Falcon. That code exists only in drills. Nobody ever explained what it covered. Seconds later, the radio went to static. Then the lights flickered, and the point defense turrets in the ceilings folded down, ready but without target data. Automatic lockdown should have slammed every blast door. Half of them jammed open instead. Area 51 feels secure until the locks fail. Marquez whispers, "Sir, main security feed's dead. Auxiliary monitors show movement in drone bay." He thumbs the small wrist tablet wired into our network, whatever's left of it. Looks like a dozen personnel, but their thermal signatures are wrong. Wrong how? Temperature offsets below ambient, like they're cold steel. Ellis adjusts his grip, slides his finger clear of the trigger guard to keep sweat from making him slip. I note the gesture. Automatic, professional. But his jaw twitches each time the thing inside Decon 3 scrapes metal with something that may or may not be a fingernail. I key my throat mic. Nothing goes out. Channel 1 is static. Channel 2 is empty. I switch to the encrypted guard net. No tone. The base is swallowing its own voice. A dull clang from down corridor. All three of us pivot. A lone figure shuffles into view. Doctor's scrubs soaked dark. He limps, left leg stiff, head cocked as though listening for traffic. When he sees us, he smiles, lips split wider than should be possible. Skin at the corners transparent and thin. He raises both hands in a slow, deliberate greeting. Ellis calls, "Sir, identify." The doctor keeps smiling. Something bulges along his forearm like a length of cable slithering under the skin. I step forward, rifle leveled. The doctor speaks in a voice that isn't broken, isn't labored, almost calm. "Open the quarantine doors, Sergeant. Specimen 0 must expand." His teeth elongate as he finishes the sentence. The last syllable turns into a wet rasp. The smile holds. I squeeze 2 rounds center mass. The 5.56 rounds punch through soft tissue, exit neat. The doctor folds but doesn't drop. Momentum tilts him backward, yet he plants a foot and rights himself. No blood on the deck. The entry holes close like wax near heat. He keeps smiling. Ellis opens fire. 4 shots. One strikes the doctor's cheek. Bone shatters. Fragments scatter, yet somehow the expression remains. The man, creature, staggers, lets out a screech pitched like microphone feedback. From inside Decon 3, the thing answers with a hammering thud. I shout, "Back to cross junction, move." We retreat 10 paces to the steel intersection where the corridors meet at 90 degrees. My access badge pings green on the wall panel. Miraculously, the door motors obey and slide shut. I slam the manual locking bar. We breathe in the stale air of Corridor F. The overhead lights here flicker but stay lit. Behind the sealed door, the doctor pounds once, twice, then drifts away. The footsteps fade into a series of wet smacks. Ellis reloads. His magazine clacks into place louder than it should. Marquez pulls a chem light, cracks it, and sets the green glow stick on the deck as a rally point should power fail. I glance at the blast shutter overhead. It is retracted. If Central Control decides to purge this wing with thermite, we will see it slam down and seal us in. I need higher clearance. The only operable control station now is Ops Center Alpha, 3 levels deeper. I tell the team we push there. They nod without comment. On the way, we pass the observation theater, rows of bolted-down seats facing a one-way mirror that looks into the biotesting arena. The mirror is shattered inward. From the hallway I hear someone humming on the other side, a child's lullaby. I risk a peek. A maintenance worker kneels in shattered glass, sweeping pieces into geometric patterns. Blood drips from each fingertip, yet he keeps arranging the shards like mosaic tiles. He hums, "Twinkle, twinkle, little star," each note slow and deliberate. He doesn't notice the glass slicing his palms. The pattern glows faint blue under the UV work lights. Marquez wants to drag him out. I hold her wrist. He's lost. We move. Elevator access is offline, so we descend the emergency stairwell. The concrete walls sweat condensation. The ventilation fans hum sporadically, coughing dust. On level -3 we find 2 Air Force engineers, Lieutenant Ashby and civilian contractor Halverson, barricaded behind overturned tool carts. They wave us in. Once behind their improvised barrier, I see their weapons, a nail gun and a boxed-off acetylene torch. Better than nothing. Ashby briefs us. She was supervising a drone retrofit when the first siren sounded. Some workers reported a foul odor, ozone mixed with something metallic, near Storage Vault 12. Then a scream. The first infected corpse she saw wasn't dead. It stood back up 40 seconds after collapse. She shot it with a flare gun pilfered from the safety locker. Charred to bone, it still crawled. The flamethrower prototype in Drone Bay might stall the creatures, Ashby says. But we need passcodes at Ops Center Alpha to unlock the racks. We add Ashby and Halverson to our group, 5 total. I instruct Halverson to carry spare magazines for Ellis. He nods, clutching the ammo box like a lifeline. At Corridor 7 Delta, motion sensors flicker amber. Something approaches. We kneel in the shadow of bulkhead ribs. Through a narrow slit, I count 6 figures rounding the bend. 3 researchers, 1 janitor, 2 security. All infected, skin translucent, veins glow faint blue. They move in jerks, yet synchronization suggests shared intent. Their heads swivel periodically, sniffing air like tracking dogs. Ellis whispers, "They hunt by sound?" I tap the deck twice. Metallic ding. The closest infected stops, cocks its ear, but doesn't charge. Instead, it opens its mouth wide, impossibly wide, and emits a clicking pattern, rapid, complex. Instantly the others click back and adjust formation. Echolocation, or coded signals. We hold still. Ashby's radio gives a sudden burst of static. The creatures snap toward us, sprinting. Shamblers they are not. I toss a flashbang around the corner. The stun grenade detonates with white brilliance. The infected shriek, clutching ears. We fire controlled bursts. Bullets pierce torsos, limbs. Limbs reknit slower this time. Maybe light shock disrupts their repair cycle. Ellis nails one through the eye. It collapses, twitching, then goes still. Target the head, old rule. Marquez shoulders her shotgun, fires slug rounds. 2 creatures drop. Goo like melted wax oozes from wounds. The janitor lunges past me, claws scraping my vest, glove leaving slick residue. Halverson arcs the acetylene torch. A bloom of flame engulfs the janitor's face. The creature backpedals, thrashing, flesh bubbling into grey foam that hardens like ceramic. Fire checks regeneration. Another rule logged. We push past their smouldering bodies. I note in my cuff notebook, stun plus headshot equal confirmed kill. At last we reach Ops Center Alpha. The reinforced door requires an officer's biometric signature. Ashby places her palm. The scanner chirps, then a female voice intones, "Specimen 0 override, access denied." The panel turns crimson. Specimen 0 overrides command hierarchy. I spin to Ashby. She swears under breath, then remembers not to swear. Back way through vent control, she says. Small shaft, vertical drop 20 feet, then a maintenance crawl into ops observation deck. She knows the route. We hoof it to vent control. On the way, lights dim. Backup generators kick. The corridor doors cycle randomly, locking, unlocking. An automated voice, monotone, echoes overhead. Life support purge in 60 seconds. Personnel relocate. The base thinks we are contamination. It will vent the wing to the desert. We break into a sprint. Around us, infected slam fists on glass partitions, howl in frequencies that rattle ductwork. One bursts from a side lab, leaps for Ashby. Marquez shoves her clear. The creature's momentum carries it into a portable gurney. It tumbles, sprawls. I unload 3 rounds into its skull, matter spattering the wall. It twitches, then flattens. We dive through vent control hatch just as bulkhead shutters thunder closed along corridor F. A hiss rises, the wing depressurizing. Dust and small debris swirl beyond the glass viewport, sucked toward roof vents, whipped away like chaff. Inside vent control, the air is still thick. I seal the hatch, twist manual dogs. We are safe from vacuum for now, but oxygen here will run thin fast. Halverson locates the maintenance shaft cover. He angles a crowbar, pops the plate. Cold air pours from below like breath from a crypt. A ladder descends into black. No lights past the rim. Ellis volunteers to go first, night vision goggles clipped to helmet. He drops, boots clanging each rung. His voice drifts up. Clear to base. I signal Marquez next, then Halverson. Ashby follows. I bring up rear, sealing the grate behind. The ladder ends on a steel platform above twin turbine fans, blades still due to power loss. We cross a narrow catwalk, then crouch into a service duct barely shoulder wide. I lead now, rifle slung, crawling on elbows. Ductwork hum vibrates skin. Somewhere ahead, muffled voices echo. Human speech commands. I glimpse slats of light through a grating. Ops observation deck lies beyond. I ease forward, peer through. Below, 3 officers, not infected, stand ringed by monitors showing base schematics. One wears a radiation badge soaked crimson. He presses a pistol to a keypad officer's head, demands overrides for lower volt release. The virus manipulates minds without infection, or desperation pushes good men. The hostage sees me first, eyes widen. I press a finger to lips. He nods almost imperceptibly. I count breaths, then drop my weapon sling, ready. A sharp clang elsewhere distracts the gunman. I kick the grate. It bangs open. I drop into the room barrel-trained. Ellis emerges behind him from a side door we did not latch. Flank angle perfect. Gunman freezes. I order him to lower weapon. He does, hands shaking. He blurts, "Specimen 0 is learning. We need the vault open to vent it to the surface. Burn the desert, save the world." His logic spirals. Ashby handcuffs him. The keypad officer identifies as Captain Morita, command post supervisor. He grants us console access. Power grid expected to fail completely in 90 minutes, but local reactor still stable. Manual restart of coolant pumps could restore controlled systems, including blast doors and comm array. Reach reactor level, restart pumps, then use dish to broadcast quarantine warning beyond base. Morita inputs my credentials, gives thumb drive with codes. We plan route, service tunnels to reactor annex. But before we move, Morita shows camera feed. Decon 3 hatch, now open. The unknown mass slithers into corridor, silhouette shifting like liquid steel. Behind it, infected shadows gather. Specimen 0 is loose. We load spare batteries, seal observation deck, and step into the south access tunnel. In the distance, an alarm, different pitch, rises. The automated voice repeats, "Containment priority lost. Organism adapting. Evacuate." But there is nowhere to go. The desert above is vented to night air shimmering at -2 Celsius. Any exit hatch would freeze lock. We press onward, boots crunching debris, every echo a possible threat. Ahead, red emergency strobes mark the stairwell to reactor annex. I take point. One flight down, turbine roar grows, reactor coolant still circulating, good sign. Yet the corridor walls are wet, condensation or fluid leak, floor slick. The smell, copper mixed with chlorine, burns nose. My eyes water. Ashby whispers, radiation scrubbers offline. Dosimeters show climb but still safe. She tries confidence. We pass a glass observation window looking into water reservoir 2. Inside the pool, shapes glide under blue light. Not human, not fish. Elongated limbs, webbed skin. Some thrash at the reinforced walls, jaws distended. The alien virus adapts to aquatic environment instantly. Another note. Ellis mutters a prayer in Spanish. Quiet. We reach reactor annex blast door, 5-ton slab. The keypad blinks for code. I insert thumb drive, green. Door motors groan, then halt mid-cycle. Warning flashes. Hydraulic failure. Manual crank option exists, but requires crossing the maintenance shaft outside to reset valves. Halverson volunteers, smaller frame fits shaft. We clip safety line to his harness. He pries vent panel, slips into darkness lit only by his headlamp. Minutes crawl. We hear his radio breathe. Valve 1 engaged. Valve 2. A screech cuts in. His headlamp bobs violently, beam jerking. Halverson yells once, wordless. Line jerks taut, then slack. Something tugs from the shaft deeper than physics allow. The harness buckle, rated for half a ton, snaps. The line whips back, spraying droplets of water? No, thicker. Silence. Ellis curses softly. I mark the line as lost. The crank wheel lights green. The valves apparently set. Door completes opening. We step into reactor annex. Monumental chamber, twin coolant pumps and control console. Floor vibrates with turbine thrum. Overhead cranes dangle. Lights strobe faint red. No immediate hostiles. Ashby runs to console, begins reboot sequence. I scan perimeter. Marquez watches the entrance. Console beeps. Coolant pumps primed. Reactor stabilization at 64%. Ashby initiates comms relay restart. She smiles. Small but real. From the mezzanine above, a figure drops silently. Infected technician. Skeletal, limbs elongated. It lands behind Ashby, reaches. I fire. Bullet blasts shoulder. Limb spins but regrows mid-air. Ellis engages full auto. Creature leaps to overhead crane. Scuttles along rails spider-like. It screeches. The pitch draws echoes from corridor behind. Multiple responses. I grab Ashby. Pull her from console. Marquez slugs the emergency power lever. Massive clunk. Lights brighten. Full white. Reactor stabilizes. But with brightness we see them. Dozens of infected lining mezzanine rails. Silent until now. Their mouths open in unison. They emit that clicking chorus. Then they charge, dropping, sliding. Wave of limbs and teeth. I throw a smoke canister. Pop white cloud. Visibility drops. We backstep to central turbine. Form semicircle. I feel spent shell casings under boots. Smell spent propellant. The smoke hides movement, but shapes loom. Ashby yells, "Comms online, 30-second boot cycle." She taps wrist mic, trying to hail anyone topside. An inhuman bellow rends air, a deeper register than earlier clicks. The smoke billows aside as a massive silhouette emerges. Specimen 0, twice human size, lacquer black skin shimmering, bones shifting under surface like gears. It stops 10 paces away, head tilting as if studying, eyes luminous silver. It raises an arm composed of fused forearms from victims. 6 hands flex at once. It points to us, an almost polite gesture, then advances. Ellis empties magazine. Rounds spark off its hide. Some sink yet vanish as flesh closes. Marquez loads incendiary slug, fires. The slug ignites on impact. Flames crawl over its torso, and for the first time it reacts. Steps back, hisses, sound like steam lines venting. I drag a trolley of oxygen acetylene tanks, flick open regulator, vent gas, then kick tank toward it. Ellis tags it with a tracer round. Tank ruptures, orange bloom fills atrium. The concussion knocks everyone flat. Heat scorches eyebrows. 0 roars, staggers, but remains intact. Outer layer cracked, inner sinew glowing ember red. It learns. Alarms now screech, Core temperature rising. Fire suppression foam drops from ceiling nozzles. White flakes cover us, smother flames. Console pings. Comms online. Ashby shouts coordinates to any satellite dish still functional. Area 51 compromised. Do not enter perimeter. Biological threat. Immediate quarantine. She repeats. Specimen 0 shakes off foam, steps forward again, slower but intent. I see stairwell to coolant catwalk overhead. If we can lure it onto railing, sever supports with shaped charge from maintenance locker, maybe drop it into coolant pool. Ashby nods. We fall back, firing sporadically, drawing it. At catwalk base, Ellis plants C4, attaches remote, then ascends ladder. 0 follows, claws scoring steel. On the grated walkway, weight makes metal sing. We reach opposite platform as Ellis blows first charge. Section behind 0 collapses. It lurches, regains balance mid-fall, latches to main coolant pipe. Hanging above pool, it swings, claws sinking in metal. Pipe groans. A jet of supercooled water sprays high, creating fog. 0 climbs pipe toward us. I trigger second charge, pipe joint explodes. 0 plunges, vanishes into surging vortex below. Water churns, bubbles rise, then stop. Pool goes still. Maybe heavy coolant slows regeneration. We dash down ladder. Ashby checks console. Temperatures spiking but containment still holds. She initiates emergency bleed, venting heat into exhaust stacks. A voice crackles through overhead PA, first time tonight. This is Colonel Reeves, remaining command. Whoever activated comms, report. Ashby responds, gives our location, status. Reeves orders rendezvous at Command Silo B within 30 minutes. Exfil plan underway. Bombers on standby with fuel air ordnance if perimeter breach occurs. The virus cannot leave facility. I glance at coolant pool one last time. No surface ripple. Marquez reloads, eyes the access tunnel. We still have to cross half the complex, she says. Visor timer shows 3:41. 43 minutes since we dropped Specimen 0 into the coolant pool. 28 until Colonel Reeves's window for evacuation slams shut. We advance along Service Tunnel C, a narrow concrete throat that once carried driverless cargo trolleys between the reactor stack and Command Silo B. Fluorescent strips overhead fail every 6th fixture, so the light moves in stuttering bands across the walls. Water condenses on ceiling bolts and falls in single, deliberate droplets that tap our helmets like a metronome. Marquez scouts point. I follow with Ashby 1 pace back, her tablet slung by a cord so the screen rests against her chest. Ellis covers rear, rifle angled low. Captain Morita, freed from the hostage scene, limps beside him, hand pressed to a cracked rib. 5 of us now. At 120 meters, the main tunnel veers left. A spur on the right drops toward an old freight elevator no longer on any active map. The floor plates there are dimpled where something heavy was dragged recently. Grey residue like cooled solder lines the scuffs. Ashby swipes a sample with a gauze pad. It smokes faintly, then vanishes, eaten through. Acidic secretion, new trait. We press on, stepping over a shattered maintenance bot. Its treads melted into puddles. Nobody speaks. Radio discipline holds. The silence feels brittle, so when the PA crackles, we all flinch. Unidentified strike package en route, ETA 40 mics. Base personnel move to hardened shelter. Colonel Reeves's voice clipped. No room for argument. Ashby double taps her mic. Alpha Ops team inbound Silo B. 5 souls. Require authentication Alpha 17 for silo access. The answer rides a burst of static, then clears. Authentication granted. Safety override green. Hurry. At 3:49 we reach the bulkhead guarding Silo B's vestibule. The keypad flickers between red and green, confused by intermittent power. My badge pings, but the bolt only half withdraws. I lean in, throw weight against the slab. It grinds open 3 fingers width, enough for Marquez to squeeze through and shove from the far side. Locking pins shriek and finally retract. We funnel inside. Silo B is a cylindrical cavern 40 meters across and almost that tall, carved straight through limestone. Catwalks ring the walls at 3 levels. In the center stands the spindle, a freight elevator sized for missiles but retrofitted as a personnel lift. 30 seconds to the desert floor, if surface hatches obey. Metal halide lamps bathe the space in raw white. Reeves waits on the lowest catwalk, tall, lean, eyes bloodshot but clear. 2 comtechs work beside him at a field console wired directly into satellite link hardware the size of household refrigerators. A third tech lies face down nearby, throat wrapped in pressure bandage that failed to stop the dark spread beneath. Reeves greets us with a nod, then gestures to the spindle. Lifts online. Problem is topside weather. He taps a wall screen. Exterior anemometer lines read gusts to 80 clicks. Airborne dust concentration off the scale. The atmospheric venting we triggered earlier turned the night above into a vortex. Rotorcraft would shear apart. No extraction bird is coming. Alternative? I ask. He points to the inner rail tunnel that arcs west toward the dry lake bed. Prototype magsled, low profile. If we can reach Hangar 4, we launch along the lake bed, then angle north. Outrun quarantine perimeter before the bombers drop. He pauses. But the sled's ignition codes are locked inside Cryovault 7. Power glitches forced an auto-seal. Ashby exhales through her teeth. Habit instead of curse. Vault 7 is 2 levels down, specimen storage wing. I remember the translucent creatures thrashing in the reservoir. That sector's cold and wet, perfect for anything newly spawned. Reeves nods once, grim. We split. Reyes, take Ashby and Ellis, get those codes. I'll hold Silo B with Marquez, Morita, and the techs. When you return, we ride the sled. Marquez opens her mouth to protest, but shuts it when Reeves lifts a hand. She hands me her last 2 incendiary slugs, then swaps her shotgun for Morita's spare M4 so she can feed the tech's magazines without reloading logistics. 3:57. We descend a grated stairwell into sub-level access. The air grows cold. Each breath fumes. Pipes along the walls vibrate with coolant pulse, but ice crystals lace the joints. Circulation here is failing. Lights dim to blue safety LEDs that grant just enough vision to distrust shadows. Ellis murmurs the count of each junction we cross. At the 3rd intersection we halt. Ahead, the slab door of Cryovault 7 stands ajar. Rime edges the gap. A steel sign warns, Biological Level 4, live specimens, no entry without positive shutdown. Ashby checks her tablet. Power spike 30 minutes ago, forced magnetic clamps to release. Nothing else shows. Her knuckles whiten on the stylus. I push the door wider with the muzzle of my rifle. Vault 7 is a cathedral of stainless tanks, each big as a grain silo and jacketed in frost. Vapor glides across the floor like low fog. The only sound, slow drip-drip where condensation meets steel decking. We advance single file. Ellis marks tanks clear with chalk X's. At row 5, tank 3, the inspection viewport is fractured from inside. The hatch levers hang loose. Slate-colored sludge trails toward the central aisle. I note boot prints inside the sludge, deep, then shallower, as if the wearer sank with every step. They angle toward the control dais at Vault Center. We skirt the prints, rifles up. On the dais sits a single crew workstation, chair spun sideways. The operator, lab tech in cryo whites, slumps against the console. His face is intact, but eyes silvered over. Thin black tendrils pierce from his scalp into the monitor housing, veins pulsing like cables feeding data both ways. He does not breathe. The screen scrolls block text faster than eyes can track, strings of genetic code interlaced with base schematics and, worse, satellite uplink commands. Specimen 0 is writing. I pull the power cable. Sparks pop. The screen dies. The tendrils retract from the tech's head with a wet slurp, coil onto the desk, and stiffen like dried roots. The corpse remains seated, peaceful. Ashby inserts her override card into the Vault master panel. The system challenges with biosignature. She places palm. A progress wheel crawls. Ellis circles perimeter, eyes on catwalk overhead. From high among the ducts comes a hiss. Condensate puddles vibrate. Something massive shifts its weight in the rafters. We glimpse silhouettes, fused limbs, triple-jointed, skin lacquer black. offspring of Zero formed since its dive into coolant. They cling to girders, silent, waiting. The master panel beeps green. Ignition codes downloaded. Ashby whispers, clutching the data slate. She tugs the card free. The drive bay slams shut of its own accord. A red icon blossoms. Replication initiated. I don't waste time reading sub-menus. Move! We turn for the exit. Pressure rumbles overhead. Thuds in quick succession. Frost flakes shower down as the creatures drop from beams to decks, slotting between tanks with liquid grace. No screeches, no theatrics, just the rapid tick of claws on steel. Ellis fires first burst. Tracer cuts through one figure. Torso splits like hot wax, reforms. Another leaps from his blind side. He pivots, bayonet flashes, severing arm at elbow. The limb twitches on floor, then liquefies into black tar that crawls toward his boot. He stomps it flat, keeps moving. We dash full sprint, breath pluming white. Two creatures flank, using tank rows for cover. I toss an incendiary slug down row. Magnesium arcs bright, blossoms into rolling fireball. Heat scorches my cheek. The flame clings to lacquer skin, forces the creatures back shrieking for the first time. Ashby slides through the vault door. Ellis next. I slam it shut and yank the manual lever. Lock rods engage. Alarms inside the vault begin a rising whine. Emergency Aurora discharge to flash freeze contents. We keep running. When the auto seal completes, the corridor lights flash ultraviolet. Behind us, the door windows bloom white as liquid nitrogen floods. Ellis pants. Think that'll hold? Long enough, I answer, though this is prayer more than fact. 4:13. Our footsteps echo up the stairwell towards Silo B. Halfway, our radios buzz with crosstalk. Marquez shouting orders, automatic gunfire in background. We burst into Silo B mezzanine. Scene is chaos. Infected humans swarm the lower catwalk, every movement jittery as though marionetted by one mind. Marquez and Morita hold a defensive wedge near the spindle base, firing measured bursts. Two techs drag supply crates onto the mag sled cart. A bullet-shaped cabin mounted to magnetic skids poised on the tunnel rails beyond an iris door. Colonel Reeves kneels beside the fallen third tech, tourniquet useless now. He looks up as we arrive. Did you get the codes? Ashby sprints for the sled cockpit, jacks her slate into the ignition port. The sled hums, capacitors singing. Before we can board, the inner silo blast door shudders. A single fist-sized dent appears. Then a second. Metal bulges like tinfoil. Something immense rams again. Doorskin tears. Through the split we glimpse molten eyes. Specimen Zero did not drown. Reeves points at Ellis. Defend that door. By 60 seconds. Ellis nods, slams a fresh mag, sets stance. Morita joins him despite the limp. Marquez waves me onto the sled. Your payload, Reyes. Get the data topside. Her expression is iron. Any protest dies on my tongue. I climb aboard with Ashby. She shouts pre-launch checklist. Her voice trembles once, then steadies. Ellis triggers a claymore at the foot of the blast door. Shrapnel rips the first breach wider but hardly slows the figure forcing through. Zero's torso emerges. Cracked black shell, coolant ice still steaming off joints. 6 arms spread for balance. Jagged spurs protrude along the spine. It steps over the claymore crater, seemingly amused. Reeves yells, "Launch!" He slaps the sled hull twice, then turns to empty both pistols at Zero. Marquez shoulders shotgun, fires incendiary slug point blank into the creature's face. White flame engulfs its features. It reels but swipes blind, talons slicing the air. Reeves dives, pulls Marquez clear at the cost of a ragged gash down his own thigh. Ashby overrides countdown. Magnetic clamps thump open. With a lurch, the sled shoots forward into the rail tunnel, acceleration pressing us against padded seats. Light from silo vanishes, replaced by the monotone blur of tunnel lamps racing past. The radio crackles, Reeves's voice distorted by Doppler and static. Perimeter drones reading surface breach north quadrant, multiple outbound contacts. If you reach Hangar 4, track west across Lake Bed. We'll hold here. Static engulfs the channel. I clutch harness straps as the sled rockets on, 400 kilometers per h and climbing. Ashby's console scrolls paving data. She shakes her head. There's a maintenance gate 10 clicks ahead. If command hasn't cut power, it stays shut. We'll pulverize. I scan the compartment. 2 compressed air emergency propellant packs for manual braking. Each canister good for half the sled's inertia, not all. We need the gate open. I open comms to central control frequencies, broadcast blind. This is Reyes, mag sled on Vector Hangar 4. Open gate Delta 12, repeat. Open gate Delta 12. No reply. 10 seconds. 20. Lamp count speeds into single digits. Tunnel roars like hurricane. At last a voice, barely audible, answers. Gate Delta 12 cycling. Brace. Unknown speaker. No time to verify. A distant clang travels up the tracks, followed by a vacuum-like whoosh. A flash of starlight appears ahead. The gate irises open just as we arrive. The sled shoots through onto a long incline, rails climbing toward the desert floor beneath Groom Lake's desiccated basin. Gravity drags speed down. Magnetic brakes engage automatically. We crest the final rise and burst into open night. The desert sky is a churning cauldron of dust lit by the pale spill of half-hidden moon. Guardian turrets dot the rim, their barrels red-hot from recent firing. Smoke columns rise where inbound infected made test runs for freedom, and where some succeeded. I spot several sprinting forms far across the flat, their limbs gleaming furnace red under moonlight. Hangar 4 looms ahead, Delta's wing doors yawed wide. Ashby feathers throttle. The sled glides to a halt inside the giant cradle. We disembark, feet crunching on salt dust blown all the way into the hangar. Overhead, hurricane-rated doors groan. Motors strain to close against crosswinds. Servos fail halfway. The gap howls. Inside the bay sits the prototype magsled booster, a wedge of alloy and carbon rails rigged to a rocket sled assembly. 1 seat, 1 chance. Destination: the far perimeter where a rail spur meets Highway 375, radio-dubbed extraterrestrial highway. If we survive the boost, we bail and run. Ashby keys the codes we bled for. System acknowledges. Green arcs across launch rails. Above the wind, a faint clicking rises. We whirl. From access corridors left and right swarm a dozen infected, led by 2 lankier variants whose elongated jaws split to the collarbone. They sprint on all fours, claws shear sparks from polished deck. No time to launch full sled. We improvise. Ashby yells, "Fall back to forklift!" On the hangar flank sits a diesel counterbalance truck used for pallet loads. I swing aboard driver's seat as Ashby leaps on rear step. Key slot empty, but ignition bypass switch glows. I twist. Engine coughs, catches. I slam throttle. The forklift lurches toward rail line, infected in pursuit. I weave between crates, claws rake metal behind. At rail interface I drop tines, scoop under a stack of fuel drums. I tip the load back and dump it in path of pursuers. Ashby fires flare pistol at the spill. Diesel ignites. Wall of flame rolls. Infected recoil, shrieking. We angle to the booster car. Ashby sprints to cockpit. I cover with rifle. Short bursts, conserve ammo. 2 enemies break through the fire, skin aflame but bodies driving on instinct. I pick one off with a headshot. The second barrels into the forklift mast, buckling metal. Ashby's voice in headset. "Booster primed, 10-second fuse." I dive for the second seat, a jump seat never meant for passengers. Boost engines roar like thunder bottled. The sled slams forward, my spine crushes into backrest. The world elongates into a tunnel of dust and starglow. Sensors flash red but hold. Behind us, a blossom of heat. Something exploded in the hangar, maybe the drums. Shockwave chases but sled outruns. Wind screams. Ahead, I glimpse runway lights, emergency battery strips still blinking. The perimeter fence crouches beyond. The sled's software engages air brakes to slow for turnout. Hydraulic fins deploy, snap under turbulent dust. Alarms chorus. We overshoot intended decel zone. Ashby yells coordinates. She can jettison cabin off sled chassis to bleed speed on sand. I nod, hold straps. She pulls release. The cabin detaches with metallic thunk, skids sideways across salt pan. Sparks trace comet tails. The frame rotates 90 degrees, slows, finally grinds still in a plume of alkaline dust. Silence but for wind. 4:39. We sit breathing. Helmet mics open but wordless. The base lies 3 clicks behind, its outlines dim through grit. Lightning flickers where bombers may already orbit, waiting for go order. Ashby breaks silence. We cleared perimeter by 300 meters. Reeves will trigger scorched earth if he can't retake silo. She checks slate. Link lost. EMP shield on her tablet still hums, but uplink antenna is gone, sheared in the rollover. We step into night. Dust whips jackets. Particles sting skin. I wrap scarf higher. Our boots crunch crystallized lake bed. Feels like walking on old coral. To the south stands perimeter gatehouse. Small concrete bunker. Floodlight still arcing across fence gap where something battered through earlier. We limp for it. Halfway there, the ground quivers. Low rumble beneath soles. We spin toward the facility. Mushroom of orange fire punches sky. Shockwave arrives seconds later, bending knees. Dust blast roars past. The bombers struck early, maybe remote trigger by Reeves to guarantee containment. A streak of darker shape rises from crater. No wings, no noise, just a torpedo of black launching skyward, trailing shards of silver. Specimen 0, or fragment escaping. It ascends into storm cloud, swallowed. Ashby whispers, "It learned to fly." I glance at the slate. Internal sensor feed dead, but satellite ping returns. Object ascending ballistic to 30 kilometers at Mach 3 and climbing. Vector unknown. Containment failed. We reach the gatehouse. Inside, broken radio, map of patrol routes, 2 chemical lights. I scavenge a road flare, strike it. Red glow paints dust devils. Highway 375 lies due east, invisible beyond dark ridgeline. If we reach the asphalt, maybe a passing truck, maybe state patrol overhead. I pick up handset of the broken radio anyway, instinct. White noise, then a voice, thin, distant. Unknown ground unit east of Groom Lake, identify. I have you on thermal. Female, level tone. Colin Reyes, U.S. Air Force personnel, Area 51 compromised, evac 2 survivors, biological threat airborne. Pause. Copy Reyes, hold position. I'm orbiting in a recon tilt rotor upwind. Dust too thick for set down, but I can drop a basket. I glance at sky. The dust ceiling churns. I tell her we'll light IR flares at mile marker 15 on the highway. She confirms. Ashby shoulders her pack, locks eyes with me. Long walk. Time index 512. The night is an iron lid, grinding over the Groom Lake basin. Wind still flinging dust hard enough to scour paint. Ashby and I push east, half crouched, boots slipping on salt crust that breaks like brittle glass. I pause every 20 steps to sight the ridge against faint starlight, confirm our line stays true. The blast backwash from the base detonation haunts the horizon. A low amber glow pulsing through haze, like a lantern inside red clay. Something whistles overhead. I duck by reflex. A shard of fused metal the length of my forearm spins into the dirt, hissing. Fragments keep falling at random intervals, debris lofted high by the strike that leveled Silo B. Each piece radiates faint heat even after minutes in frigid air. I note this aloud for any forensic review. 5:19. We crest a dune of drifted dust. Ahead, the desert floor drops into a shallow drainage that once fed Groom Lake's evaporite flats. A line of fence posts thrusts from the muck, wires broken. Beyond, Highway 375, a dark ribbon glimpsed when wind thins the dust for a heartbeat. Ashby shoulders rifle more comfortably, mutters to herself. Maybe checklist, maybe prayer. The ignition code slate rides in a padded pouch clipped to her belt. She taps it now and then to ensure status LED stays green. Proof of containment failure, or at least of our attempt, sits in that drive. Radio on guard frequency bursts to life. Ground unit, this is Sparrow 1. I am 6 clicks southwest, 1,000 meters altitude, moving clockwise. Visibility negligible. IR searchlight active. Mark position. I thumb transmit. Sparrow, copy. We are 200 meters west of mile marker 15, heading east. Prepare for IR flare. I pull the pen-sized flare tube, twist cap. Infrared compound ignites with soft hiss, invisible to naked eye but broadcasting a bright bloom to night vision optics. I plant the tube upright in cracked mud. Sparrow 1 answers. Flare spotted. Adjusting course. 5 minutes. Static crackles with each syllable, signal bent by charged dust. Good enough. We move again, angling toward where the 2-lane highway climbs onto a causeway. The pavement looks intact, though wind has piled drifts against the guardrail. I scan right, north, and freeze. Figures cross the road 300 meters out. Not sprinting, gliding, heads low, arms swept back as if tasting wind. Dust hides their lower halves. Occasionally one leaps, covering 10 meters in a bound, lands silent. The pattern of movement mirrors the mezzanine pack in Vault 7. Ashby watches through sights. She whispers, "Count 8, no, 9. She adjusts the rifle for single-shot discipline etched into every motion. I radio Sparrow. Possible contacts on highway north of LZ, grid 84 by 41. No friendlies outside perimeter. Roger. I have flashes on IR, too faint for weapons pass. Hold position. The wind shifts. The clicking begins, short bursts echoing against the basin walls, bouncing until origin is impossible to fix. The pack halts mid-stride, heads tilting. One turns directly toward our dune, mouth parting into a slit that reaches the ears. It clicks twice, low pitch. The others fan out, forming a crescent. Ashby keys safety off. I tap her shoulder, gesture. Fall back to the shallow ditch behind us. Use bank for cover until Rota arrives. She nods once. We withdraw 10 meters, crouch behind the eroded bank. I plant my last claymore at crest, wire leads coiled in hand. Not ideal alignment, but enough to thin a charge. Movement ahead resolves. First creature breaks into run, knees lifting high, gait inhumanly smooth. Others follow, offset to both flanks. I let them close. At 20 meters, I squeeze clacker. The charge barks. Bright fan of fragments tears the lead runner apart, fragments punching through 2 more. The shredded torsos collapse, but limbs still writhe, pulling themselves forward like separate animals. I pivot, fire 3-round bursts into skulls. Bone splashes dark against dust. The writhing slows, then quits. Remaining creatures dart sideways, using momentary screen of debris to flank. One pops up at my left flank. Ashby nails it through neck. The round punches clean, severing spine. Head falls, body stumbles 3 steps, then stills. 2 more rush my right, close before I swing rifle. I backpedal. One grabs barrel. I trigger muzzle blast point blank into its jaw. Split mandible peels. Creature recoils but keeps hold. Its partner lunges for my midsection. A rotor thump rolls overhead, drowning wind. The V-22 tilt rotor looms out of gloom, massive. White-hot searchlight floods creatures, disorienting them. Door gun on starboard sponson chatters, lines of tracer slicing air. The creature on my barrel jerks as rounds smash spine. It drops. Its partner recovers, leaps toward Ashby. Gunner tracks but risk too close. I draw sidearm, fire twice. First shot impacts shoulder, second enters eye. Creature folds. Sparrow hovers low. Windblast flays dust against our backs. Crewman lowers hoist basket, cable whipped by gusts. Basket skids on asphalt, drags before crewman pays slack. Ashby climbs first, locking belt. Cable jerks upward a meter before tension steadies. I cover, emptying last magazine into twitching mutants. A new silhouette crests ridge north, taller, broader, lacquer skin cracked by flame scars. 6 arms extend. Specimen 0, or something wearing its blueprint. Rocket strike must have ejected it beyond perimeter. It begins bounding toward us, 50 meters per leap, ground shaking. Its eyes reflect searchlight like mercury beads. Crewman shouts, "Move! Move! Move!" Basket rises with Ashby 10 meters. Cable swings. I sprint, clip harness, signal. Winch strains. I ascend even as 0 closes. Rotor wash slams against us, nearly stealing breath. Zero halts below, studies ascent. Then it crouches. Legs coil. It leaps, straight up. I glimpse underbelly of flexible plates, talons spread. The creature slams into basket base, claws ripping mesh. Impact sways cable, rotor groans. Ashby braces boots on frame, draws flare pistol, last cartridge. She jams muzzle against the thing's eye socket, fires. Phosphor blossoms inside skull, pouring smoke out ear canals. Zero convulses, grip falters. It falls, twisting mid-air, lands cat-like but staggers. Gunner fires burst into it, rounds spark off charred carapace. Creature ducks under fusillade, scoops a chunk of pavement, and flings. The rock bean's port engine cowling, hollow clang audible over turboshaft whine. Pilot barks, basket secure, reeling in, cable reels. We thump onto deck, crewman yanks pins, ramp swings shut. Pilot banks east immediately, keeping altitude low. Through porthole I watch Zero shrink in searchlight, then kneel, arms raised to sky, as if about to leap again. Light loses it, dust swallows base area. Inside cabin red light bathes our faces. Medic checks Ashby's ear, bleeding from pressure rupture. My shoulder armor cracked but skin intact. We strap in. 5:38. Sparrow climbs to safer air above the dust column. Radar scope glows with storm noise. Co-pilot calls Phoenix Control, Nellis AFB emergency tower. We relay contamination alert, ignition codes, flight path. Control responds that interstate checkpoints already mobilize. Satellites track multiform objects dispersing radially from the blast site. Some aerial, some burrowing along dried creek beds. Nationwide biohazard posture escalates to DEFCON-style parallel. Public code withheld. Ashby rests head against bulkhead, eyes open but unfocused. I grip slate pouch. The plastic feels hot, though cabin is cold. Content inside equal parts evidence and Cassandra's curse. We hand it to crew chief, who locks it in a lead-lined locker. 5:51. Pilot reduces power. Engines surge rough. Portside exhaust temp climbing. A hairline crack from the thrown rock, now hemorrhages flame. We divert north toward a minor oaks field with foam trucks ready. 20 minutes out if engine holds. Sparrow's belly sensors chime. A proximity alert, dead rear. Something ascends on parallel vector at 700 km per h, altitude 3200 m. Object size medium fighter, no transponder. Thermal bloom cold. Radar paints vague shape, profile not matching any craft. Gunner peers through door window. Nothing but dawn rim light creeping east. Pilot increases throttle despite engine strain. Cabin rattles. Medic cinches belts tighter. I fix gaze through aft porthole. Between clouds I glimpse a sliver. Black, smooth, no wings, moving without exhaust signature. Same object launched from crater. It packers us 300 meters back, climbing when we climb, sliding sideways when we jink. Too agile for missile lock, not attacking, watching. Ashby murmurs, learning flight envelope. A light flickers on her tablet. Autosync request. Unknown protocol queries. Ignition code file. She kills wireless instantly, but handshake already attempted from outside broadcast band. The slug of code inside slate calls home to unseen host. Crew chief yanks slate cable, wraps device in steel mesh, shoves in secondary locker. Object aft edges closer. It deploys 4 appendages, fins, arms, hard to tell. Each terminates in pad that glows blue like welding arc. We lose GPS for 3 seconds, return with mismatched coordinates, EMP or spoof. Pilot snaps, prepare for hard drop. He dumps altitude in spiraling dive. G-forces bite. Object follows but overshoots, momentum sliding it wide. At 1,000 meters we level. The object climbs again, now paralleling on starboard quarter. Gunner laces it with API rounds. Tracer impacts spark but appear to skid across a fluid surface. Object tilts, seems to listen to impacts, then retracts fins and climbs out of range. We watch until it merges with a nacreous cloud band over the desert. It stays there, pacing, but no longer closing. 6:07. Dawn bleeds across mountains. We line up final approach to unnamed auxiliary strip. Foam trucks already coat tarmac. Pilot sets down with one engine spitting orange. Skids kiss concrete. Brake buckets deploy. We roll to stop. Base medics rush ramp. We disembark, dust-coated, eyes gritty, clothing torn. Jackets reek of molten plastic. On apron, a decontamination squad in lighter suits waits. Not sealed hazmat, just quick barrier gear. Leadership gambles contagion needs vector organism, not mere residue. I hand off rifle, then the recorder capsule. Officer with clipboard requests verbal after action. I promise full statement once adrenaline clears. Ashby sits on stretcher refusing sedative until she transmits ignition codes to strategic command. Techs rig a shielded line, extract file. I stand guard though nobody asked. 6:23. Horizon behind us glowers darker than normal sunrise. Dust plume with electrical flashes inside. Helicopters sortie north, rotors blurred in chain. Sirens echo faint from base proper. Elsewhere, jets thunder overhead toward the cordon. The object that shadowed us? Radar stations log multiple echoes now, like seeds propagating along jet stream, scattering. Each echo diverges, altitude rising. Where they are headed unknown. Maybe coast, maybe cities. Specimen Zero fractured into spores of metal and flesh, each learning new laws on the way down. Colonel Reeves's last broadcast surfaces through encrypted channel, found hours later by signal crew sweeping warble bands. His voice calm. Silo doors sealed manually. Fuel air bomb inbound. We hold. Good luck out there. Then nothing. No confirmation of detonation inside. Sensor blackout saturates region. Command will assume worst. 8:14. I finish first debrief segment. Medical officer clears me for rest. I decline. Tasks remain. Ashby finally lies down. She clutches a printout, schematic of ignition latches she risked everything to secure. Useless now that the virus rides the upper air, yet record stands that someone fought. I step outside infirmary onto apron. Sun fully risen, painting bombers' wings gold where they idle on remote ramps. Wind calmer. A crow circles, lands on fence post, caws 3 flat notes, as if mourning normal. Then it flutters up again, startled by nothing I see. I lift small field recorder, fresh pack, press record. This is Staff Sergeant Colin Reyes, presently safe at grid reference K9 Alpha. Area 51 is silent. Unknown entities airborne. Containment perimeter stands in name only. If you receive this, do not approach Groom Lake. Do not trust calm skies. Watch thermals, watch water. Watch anything that learns faster than you breathe. We are alive for the moment and we carry witness. That will have to be enough until help larger than all of us arrives. I click stop. A transport idles nearby, ramp yawning. Crew chief waves me over. Next hop to Nellis, then onward east where wind blows cleaner. I glance back at medical bay where Ashby sleeps. I will not leave without her. Inside I sit on folding chair, back to wall, rifle across knees through magazine empty. I let lids close but keep ears tuned to corridor vents for any sound that does not belong. Outside jet engines rise one by one, answering a summons none of us yet understands. Recorder battery at half. I will save the rest for whatever comes after the next sunrise. That's all for now. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more unsettling creepypastas. Your support keeps my channel alive. Until next time, stay quiet, stay vigilant, and trust nothing, not even the silence.